We're in the middle of October, and I have to say that in terms of movies, 2016 has been a mediocre year. There have been some really good movies to come out this year, like Everybody Wants Some, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and Civil War, to name a few. But there have been more mediocre to average movies than there have been great movies. But at the same time, there was never really a movie that I saw that really fueled me with anger from beginning to end. Until I saw this movie, Keeping Up with the Joneses. Let's start this review. Keeping Up with the Joneses stars Zach Galifianakis, Isla Fisher, Jon Hamm, and Gal Gadot, and is directed by Greg Mottola. Zach Galifianakis and Isla Fisher play a married couple who recently sent their kids off to summer camp. So they have the whole house to themselves. They live in this very beautiful, very peaceful cul-de-sac, and then all of a sudden they get some new neighbors played by Jon Hamm and Gal Gadot, or the Joneses. So they seem like really nice people, but they dress a little too nice for the neighborhood that they live in, and suddenly Zach Galifianakis and Isla Fisher find out that the Joneses are in fact super spies. So the two of them get rolled into a spy plot involving the Joneses and somebody at Zach Galifianakis' workplace, in a plot that you have seen a million times before and not done anywhere near as well as other movies have done it. So the trailers for this movie looked absolutely atrocious. They were trailers so bad that I wanted to claw my own eyes out, and I was dreading to see this movie. But right before I saw the movie, I did find out that this was directed by Greg Mottola, who did Superbad, which is really funny. He did Paul, and he also did Adventureland, which I think is a pretty underrated coming-of-age story. So I was curious to see if he could make a movie with shitty trailers. Good. And the trailers won. Those trailers probably have been the most honest trailers I have seen all year. Like, Screen Junkies, they would never make an honest trailer for this at all. But if they were going to, they could probably just play the original trailers for this movie, and boom, you got an honest trailer right there, because this movie is everything you expect from the trailer. Maybe a little worse. It's the same generic average people become friends with people who seem average, but eventually it turns out that they're spies, and the two of them get dragged into the plot. Action and craziness ensues. You've seen this movie done several times before. And to be honest, I'm not one against movies recycling themes or stories again and again. As long as a movie can do something fresh and creative with old themes and ideas, then I don't have a problem with it. This is not the case with Keeping Up with the Joneses. This is very generic, paint by numbers. You can really tell what's going to happen in the next scene and chart where the movie is going to end. In fact, let's do a test. I want you to go to the comments and basically list a cliche that you would find in one of these comedies. And I guarantee you, whatever you write down, this movie does. It's that predictable. And you don't even have to see the movie to ask the question, so you're pretty much saving money right there. But what exactly is wrong with this movie? Well, the jokes are awful. This movie just all around is not funny. It feels like a bunch of ad-lib scenes stitched together very poorly in a very bad attempt for comedy, and none of the actors are directed well at all. And it's a shame, because with 3 of the actors, we've seen them have charisma in other movies. Like Zach Galifianakis has shown to be really funny at points. So is Isla Fisher. And Jon Hamm, who's very well known for being Don Draper in Mad Men, which is not a comedy, has shown to be good with comedy. You got 3 really talented actors, and then you have the director of Superbad. That should have worked out to an extent, but the writing in this movie is so shitty, so unfunny, and so uninspired that no amount of charisma from the actors or no amount of talent from your director can save this. And I mentioned that 3 actors have charisma in this movie, and that's because Gal Gadot is pretty bad here. I know I've said that she's good as Wonder Woman in Batman vs. Superman, but you gotta take into account that she was barely in that movie enough to really make a full assessment. But with the Fast and the Furious movies, and especially this, she just proves that she's not really actor worthy. I mean, she's definitely beautiful to look at. She's a gorgeous woman, but in terms of acting chops, she just doesn't have it. And if this is her last movie before we see her in Wonder Woman, then we are in trouble. We are in deep trouble. I hope Patty Jenkins can pull a miracle and make her give a really good performance. But back to this movie, one other thing that doesn't help is that the main character, played by Zach Galifianakis, is annoying and downright stupid. Now, the movie paints him as this really nice guy. He works in human relations at this company. He's the people person. But he is put into numerous situations throughout this movie where he's too stupid to realize, oh, this is a bad idea, or oh, maybe I should just shut up because things are not going very well at the moment. He's that character. You've seen this character done well before. The guy who, you know, he's nice at heart, but he's really an idiot. And I gotta be honest with you, there is hardly anything that I liked about this movie. There is one element in this movie, well, 1.5, that had me laughing, but more like a and I can't say what it is, because one of those elements involves an actor who wasn't really marketed in the trailers because he comes in at the end. And I would say who it is just because I want to save you all from seeing this movie. But I know there's going to be that one person in the comments who's going to yell spoiler alert, so I'm just not going to say it. And then the other half that made me chuckle is involved a joke that is kind of sexist. And I've started to notice a pattern with these really awful comedies. And that is that the funniest joke that I find in these awful comedies are usually something that makes me a sexist pig. And that's not really a good sign at all. Like, that I'm at a loss for words right now. Oh man, this movie is awful. There's not much else I can say. It's garbage. And again, a comedy is really hard to do. While bigger blockbusters like a Star Wars or Avengers take more time to make because of all the special effects, the action sequences, and a bunch of other complicated things, comedy is harder just because if it's not funny, then you really waste people's time. And if you really try to be funny, like, hey, look at me, I'm being funny, then you just piss off people because you're coming across as annoying. And when a movie pisses me off, that's when I tell it to burn in hell. I mean, more than any movie this year, this movie made me angry. I really wanted to leave. I haven't seen a comedy that has made me cringe in my seat this much since Sex Tape from 2 years ago. And this is really the worst movie I've seen this year. I mean, Batman vs. Superman made me angry at points, like really angry, but then it had elements that I loved, and then with Alice Through the Looking Glass, I hate that movie as well, but I kind of expected it to be bad, and while watching it, I was just more, I'm bored, this is awful, but whatever. And then with this movie, because it's so desperate for a laugh, it really made me mad and annoyed. So this movie can go burn in hell. And you know what, back to this year of movies, we're in the middle of October and this is the only movie so far that I've given my lowest rating to. The last movie I gave that to was Pan a year ago. That's kind of impressive for me to go this long without seeing a movie that really tested my patience. So yeah, Keeping Up with the Joneses, don't bother with it. Just stay away from the Joneses as far as possible. And that's my review for Keeping Up with the Joneses. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below and tell me what your thoughts are on the movie, if you see it, God forbid. And as always, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one.